Retrial of Vybz Kartel co-accused could be accommodated by 2025, says prosecutor. Acting Director of Public Prosecutions Claudia Thompson says the court system should be able to accommodate a retrial of entertainer Vybz Kartel and his co-accused by 2025. Thompson was arguing the point regarding the length of time he has collapsed between the alleged offense and the new trial. Her initial parallels were to the case, which were tried by the judge alone. However, the argument was struck down by Justice Martha McDonald Bishop, who noted that this case would involve a jury, which would make the process more hectic. Thompson also stated that the retrial could even be as early as next court term, which begins in September 2024, but this was challenged by McDonald Bishop, who pointed to the burden court system. How? McDonald Bishop questioned. Some matters are treated with priority, Thompson added. Vybz Kartel, real name Adidja Palmer, Sean Campbell, Kara Jones, and Andre St. John were convicted of the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Lawyers representing the quartet made an appeal to the local court of appeal in 2020, but their convictions were upheld. The accused appeal was then taken to the United Kingdom-based Privy Council on May 14, 2024, had their murder convictions overturned on the grounds of jury misconduct. The Privy Council had also remitted the case back to Jamaica court to appeal the decision whether or not they should be a retrial. The retrial hearing began on Monday and is expected to end today. Father and son on murder charge granted bail. A man who was charged alongside his father with the fatal shooting of a woman and the injuring of her female relative at their home in Flower Hill, St. James, has been granted bail. Flower Hill resident Lavon Jaja Coke is jointly charged with 57-year-old Wilfred Coke with murder and wounded with intent. During Wednesday's hearing, the Crown objected to the bail for the younger Coke on the basis that he posed a flight risk. The court clerk expressed concern that following the commission of the crime, Lavon left the area and went to Westmoreland despite being aware of his name, what was being called in relation to the murder, and only turned himself in a month later. However, defense attorney Henry McCurdy argued that his client posed no flight risk. He called his lawyer, and his lawyer took him in when he found out that the police were looking for him, stated McCurdy. During the proceedings, presiding Judge Grant Price was noting that Lavon was identified by alias and did not appear on an official identification parade as required in those circumstances, described the prosecution case as weak. After hearing the argument from both of the defense and the prosecution, the judge granted Lavon bail in the sum of $500,000 with up to 2 sureties under the condition that he reports to a specific police station on specific days and stay away from Flower Hill. He was also instructed to surrender his travel documents, and a stop order will be imposed at the ports. He is scheduled to return to court on July 24, when the case will be mentioned. In respect to Elder Coke, his bail was extended until that date. According to the allegations, about 3:30 p.m. on March 17, 36-year-old security guard Nastasia Simit and her relative were inside their house with other family members when both men, armed with firearms, entered the yard and opened fire on them through a bedroom window before escaping in the area. The police were alerted, and on their arrival, Simit was seen lying on her back in blood with a gunshot wound to her chest. She was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. The other woman was treated and released. Both Wilford and Lavon Coke were arrested and subsequently charged. Cops says he found 572 M16 spent shells at Keith Clark's house. Statements by the scene of the crime detective, who is also a forensic photographer, that were read into court on Thursday painted a picture of the scale of gunfire at the home of 63-year-old accountant Keith Clark on the night he was shot dead by members of the security forces 14 years ago. The detective, who went to the house at 18 Kirkland Close in Red Hill, St. Andrew, hours after Clark was killed in the early morning on May 27, 2010, said he found 572 M16 spent shells, 1 M16 magazine with 30 live rounds, 9 mm spent shells, 538 cartridges, 6 canister, and numerous broken stain resembling blood. I also swabbed the hand of the deceased Keith Clark for gunpowder residue, the detective said in one of his written statements. Clark was shot more than 20 times, including in his back by members of the Jamaica Defense Force JDF. 3 soldiers, Lance Corporals Greg Tinglin and Odell Buckley, as well as Private Arnold Henry, are on trial in the Home Circuit Court for murder in relation to Clark's death. The security forces said that when they stooped down on Clark's house, they were acting on intelligence that led them to believe that then-fugitive Christopher Duduscoke and some of his henchmen were camping out there. It is alleged that gunmen challenged the security forces in a fierce battle before escaping in bushes at the back of the property. The accountant was shot dead inside his bedroom after the soldiers forced their way inside. The top floor of the house consisted of a sitting room, a study, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The front entrance door opens into the sitting room. The top lock of the entrance door was cut by a rotting blade, the detective said in one of his statements. The inside door was cut with a rotting blade to gain access. Both sides of the grill were still attached to the wall. There were paneled chairs in the sitting room. The ceiling and interior walls of the sitting room had what appeared to be bullet holes. Concrete dust covered the furniture and the floor of the sitting room. Windows of the eastern wall of the study room had what appeared to be bullet holes. The bedroom of the daughter had no damage on the inside. The door of the master bedroom was broken and was leaning against the eastern passage wall, he stated. In the master bedroom, to the eastern side, the body of Keith Clark was seen on the floor, lying face down in a pool of blood. The body was between the bed and a closing closet and the eastern wall and had what appeared to be several bullet wounds to the back. This was stated by the detective. The head of the deceased was on the northeast and the foot at the southwest. To the left of the deceased's head was an overturned ceiling chair with blood spatters. A television set was on the floor to the right side of the foot of the deceased. The bed and the top section of the closed closet were in disarray. A safe in the top section of the closet had its contents torn apart. A firearm holster was on the bed, the detective stated. He also said he observed no stain resembling blood or any other marks at the top of the closet where the deceased was. I collected 8 red striped beer bottles at the scene. These bottles were examined for fingerprints. No fingerprints were found. I also swabbed these bottles for DNA. These swabs were packaged and labeled in accordance with the bottles where the bottles were found. I don't know if any of the JDF troops removed any spent shells when they were leaving the scene, the detective stated. JTC makes about turn on teaching license. The Jamaica Teaching Council JTC has reversed its suggestion that a teacher's revoked or suspended license should be physically returned to the council. Instead, it says it will employ the use of technology and cancel the license electronically. Head of the JTC, Dr. Winston Garden, had made the suggestion when the Joint Committee met with Parliament reviewing the JTC bill met on May 30. At the time, she had expressed concern that teachers whose licenses have been suspended or revoked may move overseas and obtain employment. During that meeting, there was some confusion as members debated why the committee opted to delete subclause 61.4 dealing with the return of a license, which is also dealt with in subclause 49.3. Dr. Garden wanted the clauses to be retained, stipulating that the license be surrendered upon revocation. The concern we have is that if that physical license is not returned to the council, then we will need to have a process to identify who are teachers here teaching without the license, or if they use it abroad, because the council has a link to other countries in terms of our accreditation of our teachers, and we don't want somebody who has been suspended in Jamaica or whose license has been revoked to go into a foreign country and is able to utilize it, Dr. Garden then stated. But at Thursday's sitting, Dr. Garden told the committee that the council had backtracked following discussions with the director of the legal reform in the Ministry of Legal and Consultation Affairs, Nadine Wilkins. We had discussed among ourselves and with Mrs. Wilkins, and we agreed that we would just delete the clause and not request anybody to return the license to the council, because with modern use of technology, we'll use electronic means to cancel the license if it is revoked, she stated. Committee Chair, Education and Youth Minister Favor Williams said this was good news, while Government Committee member Senator Kevin Gale commented that we are at one with this now, no challenge. The committee members agreed to also delete Clause 49.3, which deals with the deregistration, vacation of registration, license or authorization to teach. The provision had read the holder of a license or authorized to teach shall surrender the license or authorization to teach by returning that license or authorization to teach at the registrar within 7 days of being notified in writing by the council of the revocation. It had also stipulated that a person who contravenes the clause commits an offence and is liable on summary conviction in the parish court to fine not exceeding $500,000. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.